Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD Podcast. Today is an absolute treat because I have the amazing Dr. Isabelle Amigues. Did I say that right? I've been practicing.
Yes.
And she's a rheumatologist. She's an amazing doc in the EntreMD Business School. And we are going to have a fascinating conversation. She's going to take us behind the scenes, the journey of an entrepreneur, which is going to be amazing. So, Dr. Isabelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I am going to give you a moment to introduce yourself to the audience so they get to know who you are.
Okay. So yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. And like you're a role model to me for sure. I really look towards you. But so I'm Dr. Amigues. I'm a rheumatologist. I did rheumatology in France, so that's why you have the accent. I cannot get rid of it. And I moved in New York City, and I did my residency again and fellowship again in rheumatology again because I love it at Columbia University. And then I moved to Denver, Colorado, and I was in a wonderful institution, National Jewish Health, which is really remarkable for the past 5 years. And I just launched my direct care rheumatology practice. And technically, today is the first day. So, yeah, that's me.
I mean, I feel special that I get to be talking to you on the first day of your practice. This is so cool. Okay, so I haven't heard all of your stories. So I'm actually very I'm so excited about this interview. So talk to me before the EntreMD Business School, right? Where were you with what you wanted to do with your career, work, all of that stuff? Like at that point, were you already thinking about starting a practice? What was going on then?
Okay, yeah. So I think I had a, life altering moment. I got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. When was that now? Almost 4 years ago. So yeah. And it was actually, it went well. It was scary, of course, but it wasn't awful. It just happened to be sort of my midlife crisis at 40. And so that's what I had to deal with. But the really cool thing in having this is that I had to pause and to look at where I was going, what I was doing with my life. And, I love being a rheumatologist so much. And I was on the path of doing research before I got diagnosed. And I just realized that I was only doing research. I mean, not only, but like one of the main reasons to want to do research was because I couldn't handle full-time clinics and I needed time for me. And the time for me was doing research. And when I got this diagnosis, I basically cut back and I kept some clinical work because I love it. And suddenly I'm realizing, wait, hold on. The reason I'm doing research is mostly because I cannot do full-time rheumatology, with insurance and so on, and dealing with prior auth and so all of those things. And so once, as I was getting out of the treatment for cancer and so on, and then I was getting back to a more of a normal life, I would say, I just realized I was like, hold on, like I don't want to go back to being burnt out again, because I think that that was part of me being burnt out, and I want to really do life like the life that I'm supposed to be. Like I really want to be where I want to be truly. And it's not the ego. It's really, what do I want? Like, what's my purpose? What do I want? I get this second chance of being here and doing what I love, which is rheumatology. How does it have to look? And I listened to your podcast, and I'm not one of those binge listeners. So I just listened here and there, and it kept coming back, coming back. And then your name again popped up in one of the rheumatology Facebook group. And I was like, okay, I need to look even more into this. And I think you had a workshop or something. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go all in and figure this out. Like, can I potentially create something that looks like me? Can I create this holistic practice? And I remember super clearly the first talk that I had with you. I was like, I have this beautiful vision of this holistic medicine where there's like a ton of specialty and a ton of things that we're offering. And they were like, nope. My hosts were crushed that day. We're like, no, first do one thing, then you become really good at that one thing, and then we'll move on. And I will tell you, I was sad for a little bit. I think it took me like 1 or 2 weeks to be like, I know she's right, but I have to, I have to agree with this, and then I can finally go on. And I think literally a week or two after I was in the EBS, I gave my notice because I was like, that's it, that's what I want to do. And there was a lot of conflict internally of, and especially right, like with this history of cancer, like doing my own business, that's so scary. I mean, it's like, oh, what happened? Like if anything happens. And then I was like, okay, what if anything happens? Those are all of the things that I'm going to do. And I started looking at locums. So this is what I'm going to do. And so I started just looking at, plan A, B, C, D, E, just so that I have this vision, I have this path forward. But if it doesn't work, it's okay. Like I'm a physician, it's fine. And it's funny because I think I do this with the cancer. I'm like, I really want a life without recurrence. But it's the same thing than rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. I mean, we have over treatment. So I have to kind of like just think, how do I talk to my patients? And I'm like super optimistic when it comes to my patients. So I was like, I'm gonna be the same person that I am when I'm the doctor to my patients. So and yeah, I gave my notice 6 months. I gave them 7 months. I gave it my best because I absolutely adore my institution. It just wasn't working for me. And I felt that I wanted to offer something more to my patients. So this holistic practice and the direct care allows me to do this because I don't have to deal with insurance and I don't have to deal with this headache. So I can offer the best of me. And I'm so excited that there are some patients that were like, we don't want to lose you, so we want to come with you. Because I didn't tell them. I said like, hey, I have this podcast, can look into this. And they were like, please tell us you're not leaving Denver. And I was like, well, no, I'm not. But you should stay here because you're doing so well. But yeah, so some patients I've already reached out and they are new, and some other patients are, old patients. But I'm not stealing. They decide whatever they want to do. And they have choices, and I think that's what it's all about. But having choices and having hope for the future. That's what I've learned, right? Like having hope for the future and like never crush the hope of anyone and always bring hope. And that's my motto, actually, hope driven by science. That's important.
Okay. I mean, it's going to take us a whole podcast episode to download and offload all the things that you just said. I mean, okay. First of all, you're brilliant. Like, I love the way you think. I love the way you process things, right? So here are a few things that stood out to me, right? You're like, what do I want? And I think as, as humans in general, but I think physicians, I think that's a question we need to start asking. Like you took one for the team, right? So everybody doesn't have to have like a moment, right? And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad you're doing so well. But everyone can then ask themselves, like, okay, Dr. Isabelle is giving me the gift of her experience. So what do I really want? Right. And it's like, well, I can't really have what I want. No, that's not we do the how later, but what do I want? And what if we
Mm-hmm.
could think about that? What would practicing medicine on my terms look like? What would living life on my terms look like? You know what I mean? So that was so powerful. And you're like, can I create something that looks like me? Right? Like my own thing. Ah, it's so good. And then one of the things, I've started doing a lot of studying. Like there are many people who could be in the same situation, but some people thrive and some people don't. What's the difference? And one of the things I found is commitment to their results. Because sometimes we can delegate the commitment. Like if this person does what they're supposed to do, I'll get the result. But when you find someone who is like, I am committed to my results, it's amazing what they can create. And that's exactly, you're like, I was just like, I'm going to go all in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd only been in EBS for 2 seconds, but you're like, yeah, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to join EBS. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to figure it
Mm-hmm.
out. And the scary unknown comes. What if, what if, what if? You're like, okay, well, if this happens, I will do A, B, C, D, E. If that happens, I'll do A, B, C, D, E, which
Mm-hmm.
takes away the fear, right? Because it's like, I already planned for that. There's no
Mm-hmm.
surprise. There's no, I mean, like, this is so good. Leaving on the right terms. And I want to say that to everyone who's listening. who's going to go from a job to their own business, you heard her. You don't want to burn bridges because there are people at the old institution who could be referral sources. There are people from the old institution who could open doors for you somewhere else. There, like, and you're gonna have somebody you work with, and the last thing you want to do is reap a nasty, like a nasty departure or anything like that. So, I mean, this is so good. Okay, so now you're like, this is scary. Oh my goodness, but you said yes. And you're talking about seeing patients today, and you're talking about some new patients, some old patients. So is marketing something you like to do? How are you finding these people?
No,
Like, what's going on?
no, I had faith. Okay, so this is really cool. I usually go with my guts, and there was a gut feeling. I remember, okay, so number one, my commitment, my investment to EBS was 10% of my yearly salary. So it was significant, right? But I remember, and you said like I can't remember, you have incredible words for everything you say. I wish I was as good, but you said something along the line of like, go in, go full, right? Like to the full cohort, that the new cohort that was there. And I was like, you're right. I'm here. I'm committed. And I remember I created my podcast the first week. The first week, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to start. And I just had faith that whatever you were telling us to do was like will work. And I was like, there's like, what's the risk of me going fully in everything that you're telling us to do? I mean, like literally, yeah, I have a podcast out there. It's not great. Maybe one person has listened to it. Who cares? Like my ego might be hurt, but that's okay. And then I started also looking at, the community that you've created. And I keep telling you how amazed I am because especially in medicine, coming from France where everything is ranked. So you're constantly having this idea that you're competing against each other. And suddenly you're in a medicine, like doctors group that is not competing with each other. And you keep telling us, don't do comparison because that's comparitis. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been doing my whole life. I compare myself all of the time. And suddenly I don't have to. And I just have to commit to doing what my leader, really like you, is telling me to do. And it's not like, oh, I'm blindsided, but it's just like, it makes sense. I'm going to do it. And the podcast made sense. And creating this sort of movement because I wanted to help also, right? So I was like, if I can help before I'm even opening my practice, that's a win-win for everyone, right? So it's a win for my practice, it's a win for my patients, and it's a win even for the people who I'm like, for the institution I'm at, because like it's still a big deal for them, right? Like the CEO talked to me and he was like, oh, you created your podcast, liked it, and I was like, okay, that's great. But yeah, I think having faith, seeing what other people in this community were doing, and also seeing their doubts, and they share their doubt, they share their struggles, and then you're like, oh, well, now I can compare myself because I am going through all of this, and I'm learning just as much from the successes. Then I'm learning from all those struggles and being like, oh, wow, I'm having this doubt. And what's funny is when you're coaching someone else, you're actually coaching you. So when someone else on the EBS has like a rough day and you're like, hey, don't worry, no, like do this or do that, or what have you considered this or have you considered that, you're actually coaching yourself. And that was huge. And I will tell you, like the first week of EBS, I had made my money back. I remember telling this to my partner. I was like, John, I made my money back. I've never, ever, like, this is the best thing I've ever done in medicine since going to medicine. so yeah, no, I'm so glad I'm here.
Wow, that's amazing. First week, huh?
Yes, first week.
Okay. All right. So talk to us about like your first patient is this afternoon. So talk to us about, your plans for your practice, what you see about it, maybe some of the challenges as you're setting it up and how you overcame that. Just give us the spill.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing was to create this podcast, right? So created this podcast just to put myself out there. And then creating a mailing list, so that I would have people that I knew were at least interested in my podcast or, the social media I was creating. And so I was like, oh, okay, so they are interested in this. And so then once you're on the verge of opening, so I finished on December 31st, at my previous institution, I could send an email to all of those people who were interested on day one, on January 1st, right? So that's what I did actually. And then, there's quite a bit that actually reached out and said, hey, we are interested, we want to move forward. And it's really interesting because there were some people who had no idea because they were new, right? And my website was about the podcast. It wasn't about the practice. And so there were people who were waiting. And I think I disappointed them by not taking insurance, but then I remember like after the fourth no, I was like a little bit like, ooh, did I do the right move? Like, and I remember I have like my goals for this year that are like literally next to my computer. And I started just looking at those and I was like, no, I'm committed to this. I'm not going to start worrying. I will just figure out if maybe the way I'm expressing what I want, like, what this is, maybe is not right. And I'm working on this like currently, but I'm not going to worry about this. And I've got it. Like, I'm going to get it. I'm just going to pivot like if I need to. But yeah, so the social media / podcast, then the people interested with this emailing list, and I think I have about 100 people now, which is amazing. I remember like I think I started in June. It looks like a lifetime. So in June, I had like one person the first month, like, and now I have like 100. And I think
That's
it keeps like
amazing.
increasing.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
thanks to you, thanks to EBS. So yeah, but so doing that, and then sending calls to action, like work with me, work with me. I'm here, and I'm not sending calls to action because I want to make money. I'm not sending calls to action but it's really because it's like, hey, this is what I'm offering. If you're interested, I'm here. Like I created this for you and not for my ego. Because if it was for my ego, I would stay and I would write research and look at my name on a first author on a paper. But no, like I know I'm good. I can range, the Eastern principle and all this like Western medicine, and I can, all the things that I've learned in my own journey for cancer, I can teach that to my patients and take the time. So it's like serving, and you keep saying this, right? Serve and earn. And I'm like, yeah, I'm serving, but the truth is that I want it to be successful because to me, it would be a success for my patients, but also for doctors, because I'm hearing so many of them feeling burnt out or on the verge of depressed, sad, angry. And I'm like, if I can show that this is working, even if they don't jump and they don't do it, they'll know that they have that possibility, that they have this option. And that's huge to me, right? So I'm like, yeah, this is just one for the team. Like, I'm gonna do it. So
Oh
yeah.
man, you are speaking my language, right? Because there's one thing about serving and earning, but there's the other thing of because what this means is you're part of the cavalry, right? You see that there's a problem in medicine. You're seeing what doctors are going through, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to make this work. And then now they have options, right? You talked about that earlier. Now you have options, right? Like so you can choose what is going on now, or you can choose this new way. You know what I mean? And when you're living to be an example, there's just something so special about it. It's harder to burn out. It's harder to quit, right? Because it's about no, like I'm like there are thousands of people behind me, and not in a legalistic bad I'm stuck kind of
Mm-hmm.
way, but it's like no, if I can get this right, they can get it. Kind of like what a parent would do for their kids is so amazing. I'm happy that you're there. That's a fun place to be. Okay, so you've given us so much gold, right? And I'm going to ask the community, right? So a doc that's listening, you may live in Colorado, or you may be a primary care doc in Colorado. You know, a primary care doc in Colorado, and I would love for us to collectively support Dr. Isabelle, right? And so, Dr. Isabelle, where can people find you? Where can they find your podcast if they want to send patients who have these conditions there? Social media, all of that. Where can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for doing this. Yeah. So I'm unabridged MD because it's the full version of the patients and the full version of the physician. So unabridgedmd.com is the website. And then you can actually, there is a way to refer patients from there that's going to be put very soon. So in the next week, there will be a way to refer unabridgedmd.com. And the podcast is Unabridged MD. It's on all the regular platform. You can also find it on YouTube. And yeah, I think if you look at Isabelle Direct Care Rheumatology or Unabridged MD in Colorado, and that I will be easily findable there. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
love
yeah.
it. I love it. I want to tell you thank you for, because we could have come on and we could just say, oh, I decided to quit and I started my job, blah, blah, blah. But you really took us behind the scenes, gave us like the way you were thinking about things, the decisions you made, what the challenges were, how you overcome, like all of that. And I really want to thank you for that because that is people can find themselves in that, people can learn lessons from that, and it's really really powerful. The stories are powerful. There's somebody listening right now who maybe has thought about the business school, but it's kind of where you were, and they're like, is 10%? I've never actually heard someone articulate it that way. So I'm like, I'm going to borrow that line. Is 10% of my annual salary? Like, so I don't know if it'll work for me. I don't know if I can make that investment. I don't know if I can pull it off or if it'll be a waste of time and money. What would you tell that person?
I mean, I think you have to go. I think you have to go with your guts. If you feel like, seeing all of those students of EBS thriving, like literally thriving, I think to me that spoke to me, and I was like, I want to be one of them. Uh, so that to me that was it. And honestly, like best investment I've done. Like I've actually, one of my colleagues is starting. I'm so
Oh,
excited for
that's
her,
so
and she does.
cool.
Yeah, and she doesn't. I don't even think she has the idea, or maybe she has the beginning of an idea. But she's like, no, I know that there's more, and I want to be part of this culinary, right? She hasn't put it into those words, but she's like, I'm seeing you, Isabelle, and I know that this is going to be good for me. And I'm like, yeah, you see me, like, know that it's going to be good for you. So yeah, I'm like a big advertiser for EBS because it's life changing. It's like in this era where everything seems so gloom and, so sad about medicine. It's like, no, you don't have to be sad. You don't have to be beaten up, and you don't have to think that you have no autonomy or no say in what's happening. No, just take back control of your life and autonomy and hope. And I think that that's what you bring us. You bring us hope, and you're not saying it's going to be easy. You're not saying it's going to happen without work, but like you're giving us hope. And to me, that is what life is all about. Like just hope. So I'm so grateful for EBS. You have no idea. Do
Thank you
it,
for sharing
everyone.
that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so grateful you're in the community because, there is, what we call in EBS, we call it the Commonwealth, right? Like, so it's what everybody brings to the table, and it just creates this really rich place that no matter what you're looking for, it's a Facebook post away, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Such a rich community. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for sharing your story. If you've been thinking, this is not a pitch, this is just what it is. So, turn in your application. It's application only, entremd.com/business. And we don't try to convince anybody to join the school. Like when you put in your application, we'll get on a phone call with you. And if we look at it, we're like, yeah, what you're looking for is not really something we do. We're going to tell you that's not something we do. Like we're very open with it. We've told people this is not a good fit for you. We've done that before. Many times before actually. But if it's like this is what I want to do and we're perfect at solving that problem, I mean, like she said, it's a game changer. It really is. So Dr. Isabelle has, done a really great job here sharing her story. And I want you to take the time to share this episode with another doctor, because like she alluded to, lots of gloom, lots of, gloom and doom and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, while this is a really quote unquote bad time in the physician community, it is also one of the best times because everything is about to change, right? So I just want to invite you to share this and be someone who's spreading change to other physicians, be part of the Calvary. And Dr. Isabelle, thank you again so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Una.
Yay. Okay, people, go share the episode. I'll see you on the next one. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to EntreMD.com/on demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to EntreMD.com/on demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.